Odain Stromheart was angry. His habitual bluster had gone, shaken by his inability to predict the attack of the Thousand Suns. Rocked by his failure to see the deception as it unfolded, he no longer laughed with the savage glee of the coming battle, but glowered under his arcane psychic hood, his eyes blazing. To make matters worse, he had failed to watch Wormblade as he had been commanded to do, and knew that the tempering was still proceeding behind closed blast doors. He had failed in everything that mattered, and the trust the Great Wolf had placed in him had gone unrewarded. So far. Stromheart had worked with fanaticism since the revelation of failure, driving himself close to the limits of even his battle-hardened frame. The wars throughout the Aet had been reinforced. He had worked until his hands were raw, rubbing the stone figures with his own vital blood, instillating the power of the world soul within them. Now that the enemy was here, the time for such preparations was past. He stood encased in his runic armor high up in an observation chamber of the Fang, watching as the fire rebounded from the void shields before him. No missile would survive passage through that curtain of immolation, but there were other weapons to wield. Stromheart slammed his staff on the floor, and the iron shaft shivered from the impact. The soul of the storm began to quicken around him. He felt the air race, felt it grow colder and keener. His rage at himself fueled the brewing tumult. He could use that anger, turn it into something of a terrible, terrible potency. The winds ran round the horned summit of the mountain, whining to the plasma-boiling air, whipping against the red-hot rock. The sky, which had been pure blue and empty, began to pucker with clouds. A low rumble echoed between the encircling peaks. Feel this. Feel the coming of the world soul. This is power the like of which no witch will ever wield except himself. Stromheart screwed his eyes shut, clutching the staff tightly. His second heart broke into a steady rhythm. The summoning was painful. He relished the pain. Like the searing irons, it cauterized the deeper pain within. More clouds rolled into being, tumbling from the crown of the mountains to the north, their skirts flickering with lightning, and their shadow came the hail, a sweeping wall of ruin slamming and bouncing into the ground below. Raise your eyes to the heavens, traitors! He saw the sorcerers amidst the hosts of the enemy like stars, their psychic essence standing out even through the noise and confusion. They were powerful, steeped in sickening energies. He could see their arrogance, their confidence. Some were physically corrupted, giving in to terrible flesh changes that blighted all their kind. One of them, the brightest star of all, was far down the roads of ruin. You are many, and we are few, but this is our world, and we wield its power. The storm spread, breaking across the summits, sweeping towards the Fang in a howling, screaming gale. The sky darkened, making the explosions around the mountain look like embers in a fire pit. The hail hammered down, cracking and bouncing on the stone. You think you come to fight mortals like yourselves? The wind picked up, speed and power growing to a crescendo of whirling, horrific destruction. The pinions of the blizzard closed, fed by the surging energy of the storm. Tanks were upended, knocked from their tracks. Flanking columns of troops were swept away, dragged to the precipices at the edge of the causeways, and thrown to their deaths. You think we will succumb to witchery as you did? Stromheart felt blood well in his mouth, trickling down to the mass of his slicked-down beard. He ignored it. The sharp pain was lost in the whirlwind of psychic power flooding his body. He was nothing more than the conduit, the vessel through which the untamed fury of the Maelstrom passed. The raw howl of the wind became a bellowing roar. The flames around the Fang were lashed and pulled into a dazzling flares of energies ripped across the air by the scouring gales. You are wrong. The sorcerers responded, guarding what vehicles they could, sending flickering lightning and translucent kind shields of their own to combat the dangers from the skies. They were mighty, and there were dozens of them. Even so, they struggled against the elements, and the assault faltered. Gunships blazed to the ground like comets torn apart by the electric sky. The screams of the dying and the terrified echoed through the rippling currents of the storm. Stromheart relished the cries. They fed his power. They fed the planet's power. The invaders had brought Maleficarum with them, and righteous punishment was the consequence. Even as they bled and scrambled for cover, the witches were learning a lesson. The same lesson that had been learned by every rune priest since the Allfather had first brought the way of the word to the frozen death world. Sturmhart knew it. He had known it for centuries and took delight in making it as clear as the ice itself to those who dared defy him. We do not defend Fenris. Fenris defends us. The world, the people are one. We share a soul of hatred, and now it comes to you, dark on the wings of the storm. Learn it well, for soon this truth will kill you.